What are some of the common mistakes you see people doing with case studies?
The big overarching one, and I think there's a lot of other problems that come out of this, is essentially the company themselves over engineering the case study. And that leads to a number of different problems. Too long, for example, because if you've got a bunch of marketers working on a case study, they're going to sometimes feel like they have to hit every single point about their product or service.
If I'm hearing you correctly, it's like there's not enough focus on the personality and quirks or whatever of the company that's being helped, and way too much on here's what we did, or is it more the style of how it's done?
It's both. Most companies, even when they're not doing the best job of this, will be smart enough to include customer quotes. It's that they want to decide beforehand exactly what they're going to try to get their customer to say. So
Mm,
basically, really prompt the customer and say, hey, can you say this? Instead of letting the customer just describe how they solve their problem. One thing I always say to my clients is we want to document the way that your clients talk about you when you're not in the room, because that's the way that your prospects are thinking. That's what makes a case study work.
why does it make it more interesting and authentic?
It makes it more interesting because I think the B2B world is oversaturated with generic problems and results. No one sees an ad saying that they can save you 10% on your service provider and jumps up and says, "Oh my God, I can't wait to save someone save 10%." But what does connect is when you hear someone say something specific that resonates with you. Like my CFO mentioned that the system being on a 1 day delay was causing sales reps to lose 2 hours of productivity. That's like, oh wait, that's actually something like my CFO said. And my example was a
Yeah.
little convoluted there, but I think you get the idea. It's not just like increase revenue 25%, save 10%. It's like, here are actual things that were happening in my organization, and that's interesting and may resonate with other people rather than just this was a problem, it was too slow, we made it faster.
One thing that I think is really cool, you're not just consulting, you're actually doing the case study. So you're going in as a third party, right? So businesses hire you, you talk to their customers for them, right? What's the value of having like a neutral third party asking the questions as opposed to the CEO, the owner of the company or whatever?
Yeah, so many of the problems we spoke about earlier on are easily solved by a neutral third party. Because if you, the CEO or the account manager or someone from marketing is going in, you're naturally going to go in with such a strong agenda and a way of thinking about things. There's that aspect. But then also the way that your client speaks to you is going to be different. Now, we focus on this, it's all we do. So there's value of having experts do it. But even if you're just working with another third party, they're going to come in with some idea of the situation, but a much more of an open mind and an ability to let the
Mm,
authentic client story come out. We're obviously really good at it, but any third party that's decent is going to be more effective than doing that interview yourself.
yeah. So what's your advice, kind of final thoughts for marketing teams that want to level up their case studies?
Well, I'll answer in two ways. I think for a lot of marketers, the most significant advice I would give them is to just get started and actually get them done, because the
Mm,
bigger problem, like I mentioned in the beginning of the call, that marketers, that salespeople, that founders are struggling with is not having enough. And if you have some case studies, and my advice on leveling them up or starting them from the right place, it would be to, in some part of the process, engage a third party. Not everyone's going to want to outsource their case studies to a company like mine. If you're a marketer that has time for this, you may want to do the writing, manage the design and everything. Have an outsider do the interview, have an outsider do the editing. So find some way to involve kind of a more neutral third party in the process.